some amazing stuff to show you and some great people to talk about these films, the creators and cast of some terrific films. And I want to get right to it because we've got a lot to take a look at. Keep in mind, as we start in with the Q&A, I'll be asking some questions to these folks, and we'll open up the microphone to you guys as well if you have some questions for them. First up is a film that I've been excited about since I heard about it, and then I was lucky enough to see some of it recently, and I was blown away. Do we have any How to Train Your Dragon fans? How to Train Your Dragon 2 is our first film up. The good people at DreamWorks Animation. We are returning to the Isle of Berk after 5 years, and things have changed considerably since the first film. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got two very kind gentlemen who are joining us today to help us discuss this film. Please do me a favor and help me welcome writer and director of the film, Dean DeBlois. And we're honored to have with us Hiccup himself, Baruchel. Well guys, let's get to it. Dean, it's been 5 years since we visited with these people when we pick up in How to Train the Dragon 2, right?
Yep.
And a considerable amount has changed since the first film.
There has. Well, in the first film, as you know, Hiccup was kind of the underdog, and he was pining for the affection of his dad and the respect of the community and the attention of Astrid, the girl that he had a crush on. He managed to get all those things, plus a super cool dragon, and managed to change an age-old conflict on the island of Berk. So we were tasked with coming up with a compelling narrative for the second film. And part of it was, I pitched the idea of doing a trilogy, so this could be the middle chapter, the second act of a larger 3-act story. Woo! And part of that is starting 5 years later. So now we have Hiccup. He's a 20-year-old, and he's kind of on the cusp of adulthood, looking back at his childhood and all of the freedom that entailed, and looking forward to kind of a daunting and seemingly a dull future with the prospect of taking over as Chief of Berk, his father. So he's got this itch to scratch a little bit, and he expresses it by being actively mapping the world. He's out there with Toothless, kind of delving into new lands and new cultures, new dragons. And that's part of sort of an expression of trying to figure out who he is to become. And there's an answer out there for him. That's what the story's all about.
It's nice that this film, unlike a lot of sequels, actually warrants another film, because you are advancing the story. As you mentioned, the characters are older, they have changed. And Jay, that must have been nice for you to play Hiccup 5 years later. He's not the same guy he was in the first film.
No, and I've been able to play him consistently by virtue of doing the TV show, the Dragon Riders of Berk TV show. Thanks, whoever applauded. Doesn't mean you all have to applaud. I was literally just saying thank you. It was really nice. But no, I adore Hiccup. I adore playing him. He's such a massive part of me, and so it's just kind of neat, aging him up a bit and all that comes along with that.
You also get to play with a lot of new gadgets too, as Hiccup in this film.
Yes, I do.
He's a technical genius.
He is indeed, yeah. I have a pretty cool fire sword, which are two terrific words on their own. You put them together and you have a really awesome weapon.
Now, Dean, you mentioned this as part of a trilogy, and I don't think it's an unfair comparison to say, as I was watching the film, I felt sort of harkening back to the original Star Wars trilogy. It feels like, to me, like this is the empire of How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, ideally.
Well, that's hopefully, and I don't mean narratively, we're not trying to mimic the structure of The Empire Strikes Back, but hopefully the tone, that sense of taking what you liked from the first film and expanding upon it in every direction. Character, the humor, the action, the adventure, the scope, the stakes. And so all of it, that was a kind of a high benchmark and one that we aspired to, and hopefully that's the takeaway feeling, is that it grew up a little, it expanded, and in a lot of ways it sort of makes makes the first story feel like a beginning, and there must be now a third epic conclusion as well.
And Hiccup is very much an outsider, a free thinker, even in this film.
Yeah.
You know, he's been accepted by the people of Berg, and he's sort of a hero. We get to see a little bit behind the scenes of some perhaps genetic reasons why he's a little bit of a
That's right.
an outsider.
Yeah, he's wired he's always been wired different, and in this one we start to understand a bit more why he's the square peg that he is, and how he, like all of us, is sort of equal parts both of his parents and neither of them.
Let's talk a little bit about the cast, above and beyond Jay's great work in the film. A lot
Thank
of the
you.
cast is returning to lend their voices to this product. Can you rattle off a couple names, because it's everyone in it is just so terrific.
Well, yeah, we have everybody returned, so that's really exciting. We didn't have to replace anyone, and they were all very enthusiastic to come back and reprise their roles. But in addition to, we've managed to bring in a few new characters as well. We have what Hiccup discovers while he's out there mapping the world is there's a conflict brewing that would turn dragons against humans for good. And the person behind that conflict is a very ambitious conqueror, a stranger from a strange land by the name of Drago Bloodfist, and he is played by Jaimin Honsu. He employs dragon trappers, and one of them, the self-declared best dragon trapper of all, is Eret, son of Eret, who is played by Kit Harington.
I love his name too, Eret, son of Eret. They couldn't come up with another name for that guy.
And then, of course, the character that Jay was alluding to, the mysterious dragon rider, who turns out to be none other than Hiccup's long-lost mother, is Valka, who's played by the illustrious Kate Blanchett.
Pretty good, right? Pretty good. You can do a lot worse.
And of course, Gerard Butler is back, and Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Kristen Wiig, Jonah Hill. Just an amazing cast of voice actors in the film. It's terrific.
It is an embarrassment of riches. The tough thing is in trying to kind of keep it to that roughly kind of 90-minute zone. There's so much great material that the actors give us that we can't always put up on screen, and it's actually painful sometimes because there's such great moments, great ad-libs, and lots of character development that ultimately gets shelved for later use.
Do you encourage that during the recording process for actors to ad-lib and sort of come up with their own ideas?
Absolutely, I love it. I think the only spontaneous element of an animated movie, because everything is so drawn out and so time-consuming, is in the booth with the actors. And what I love is, I'm able to kind of write pages that lob the conversation and I think the sensibilities in the right direction, but then the actors kind of, especially someone like Jay, who is Hiccup and he knows him so well, he's such an authority, he can take the intent and deliver it with so much more charm or humor or emotion than I come up with. So I love it. I love it when the actors can really embody and take ownership of the characters.
What are the challenges, Jay, doing an animated film like this where you don't get to see who you're acting opposite, and the scenes, and in this case, these amazing new dragons that we get in this film? What's the challenge of an actor trying to bring that to life?
Well, a recording studio is the exact opposite of the world in How to Train Your Dragon, which is this beautiful, immersive, colorful world of magic and endless possibilities, and then you're in, effectively, a pantry. Most of my work done in isolation, just sort of Dean and I. And that's when I kind of rely on my chronic daydreaming that ruined me in high school. I just sort of am able to imagine all these things. And also, I'm what I'd like to describe as a cat nerd. And I'm surrounded by cats often. And so I sort of, what's up, cats? And so I just sort of I channel all of the love and embarrassing stuff that I behave around my cats with, and I just sort of project it onto Toothless.
Well, we've talked about the process, we've talked about some of the actors. Let's take a look at some footage. I believe
we should.
You brought something to show.
Wait, that means you guys don't want to see it, right? That's what the applause is, you don't want to see it. Okay, all right.
You guys want to set this up a little bit? Tell us what we're going to see?
Sure. This
A little bit. And by the way, we have some time. I think we got time for a couple of questions. I think we have a microphone out there in the center aisle if you want to ask some questions of the guys about How to Train Your Dragon 2. When you're working with the 3D process, Dean, does that change the way you envision the film? And do you have to keep that in mind because you realize that you want some impressive 3D effects as well?
Yeah, well, we author in 3D, so it's part of the process from the start. We don't let it alter the way we tell the story in that, like, we wouldn't make any concessions just to be gimmicky, but we look at the storytelling that we have in front of us and say, okay, what's going to be really great in 3D from a visceral sense, and we try to amplify those moments. And then we actually try to use 3D in kind of subtler storytelling ways as well, like when characters are coming together and there's a sense of kind of involved intimacy you want to create and draw the audience in. So it's not always as obvious as it seems, but it has kind of almost like a very subtle and careful effect on the audience, I think, as well, when it's used at its best.
I think we've got a little fan out there who has a question for you guys. Hi there, what's your question?
First I'd like to say my name, Gavin.
Hi,
Thank you,
Gavin.
Gavin.
I'd like to say, Jay, you did really good in Sorcerer Apprentice.
Thank you very much. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And my question is, Jay, what's your favorite dragon other than Toothless?
What an impossible question to answer. I'd probably say,
They're conferring on an answer.
I'd probably say my dad's dragon, Skull Crusher.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. Jay, the Hiccup has a new look in this film.
Yes.
What was your reaction when you first saw that?
I was flattered. I was like, good. I like that they added a bit of my trademark dirt stubble, and it was so cool. You know, it was. I think Dean had sort of, when we first talked about number 2, he had said, you know, I'm going to give you an intro the way we intro the intro Luke in Empire Strikes Back, and so I was very happy to see that he held up his end of the bargain with that.
That question came from Carol on Facebook, by the way. I want to give her credit. We have some questions here from Twitter as well. This one is for you, Dean. What was the most challenging part of aging the actors, of developing them and progressing them 5 years forward?
I think the most challenging thing was not losing their charm. Hiccup in particular, you know, so much of what makes Hiccup likable is that kind of gangly, sort of dorky quality. He's very wry and sharp-witted, but it's a compensation for what he lacks in terms of traditional Viking brawn. And by aging him up 5 years, we didn't want him to suddenly become this strapping, you know, super sexy hero.
We were never in danger of that. Let's be honest here.
So, you know, he got taller and he did fill out a little bit, but I think part of creating that costume is, you know, his equivalent of bike leather. He's got all the tools that he carries and has created for himself while he's out mapping the world, and it's sort of built around his understanding of aerodynamics. All of it lends a certain level of cool to him as the hero of the movie, but as Astrid's quick to point out, it's also kind of on the dorky side. It's a bit overkill as well. So I think it leavens that quality and lets it be charming. We try to do that with all the characters. Like what is their kind of iconic stamp? Let's not lose that as we age them up.
I was thinking as I watched some of the film that Hiccup's dad is almost the character who has grown and changed the most.
That's a very good point.
Films.
Indeed, yeah. He's sort of kind of come around on his taciturn approach to how it's supposed to be on Berk, and he can't help but fall in love with these wonderful creatures, just like Hiccup did. All the same, he's still a bit of a stick in the mud. Let's be honest.
He's also now the overly proud dad, whereas he was kind of embarrassed to pick up in the beginning. He now can't stop talking about him, and he has such high expectations for him that actually have become a bit of a burden for Hiccup. Hiccup just doesn't even feel like he can live up to that great expectation or step into those shoes.
Hi there, what's your name, what's your question?
My name's Leah. First and foremost, thank you so much to the whole cast and crew. love all the movies and the shows.
Thanks very much.
My question is, do we ever learn more about Night Furies?
Well, you know the answer, that's an ongoing question for Hiccup himself. And I promise you by the end of the trilogy, you will.
There you go. All right, we just sold some tickets for number 3. I like that. Good job. Hi there, what's your name, what's your question?
Hello, my name's John, and I just want to ask, or first, I say I love Fanboys. Thank you for making
Thanks,
that
man.
movie.
I'm glad you like
Great to
that.
have Star Wars and Star
Are
Wars.
you guys like fanboys? What a surprise!
What are the odds?
Well, thank you. I'm glad you like it.
My question is, how do you switch gears from making movies like This Is the End, Knocked Up, to something family-friendly like this?
Oh, cool. I love it. Everyone keep applauding. No,
You're a man of range, sir.
yeah,
That's
thank
what we're
you.
saying.
Thank you very much. I think it really boils down to I try to not swear when we're making cartoons. You can ask him. It's a constant issue.
Is there a gag reel somewhere of Hiccup swearing?
Oh yeah.
There definitely could be. Yeah, saying all sorts of horrendous stuff. No, listen. I'm fairly folksy, so I use folksy language, and I try to curb it when I'm making stuff that children might see.
That's great. Hi there, what's your question?
My name is Madeline, and I have some nephew and nieces that are so excited about Dragon
Cool.
2. So, are there going to be toothless girlfriends and little babies?
I can tell you that not in this installment. Yeah, that's not.
That hadn't occurred to you.
No, it hadn't occurred to me. Like I said, there's more to be known about Night Furies, but that will come as the overall trilogy unfolds.
I think you're missing a great marketing opportunity with Toothless Babies as a new spin-off series or something.
Toothless babies.
Yeah, it's like Muppet Babies, just
Yeah.
little Night Furies running around.
Watched over by a nanny whom we never see above her knees, just the striped socks. It's all their imagination. That's all you need is an imagination.
Hi there, what's your name and your question?
Hi, obviously I'm Jack Frost. But,
Hi there.
okay, so my question is, I'm a huge fan of John Powell, who does the score.
He's terrific, yeah.
And, man, it sounded great in that scene, oh god. But, my question is like, what is it like working with him, and did you guys make any scenes that went around his music instead of like vice versa?
Well, he's amazing to work with. He's really humble, down to earth, extremely talented, but absolutely collaborative. And I love any chance we get to go to his studio and hear ideas that he's playing back. The one thing about the music is what you're hearing here is all temp. So there are better versions of what you're hearing here. Some of that was actually borrowed score from the first film. So it's being mixed right now at Skywalker Ranch, which is where I was and where I'm heading back to. We recorded in London just a couple weeks ago at Abbey Road and at Air Studios, which is an old church with 113 musicians and just spectacular. So it's incredible. And one thing that worked really well for us was to have Jónsi from Sigur do the end credit song of the first film. So he's actually collaborated with John on a couple original pieces for this movie. Pretty cool. That's also super cool. But yeah, I'm in awe of musicians in general. I don't have any musical talent, so it's all magic to me, and to be around it blows me away. Although I'm subjective, I do think that this score is even better than the first.
One of the nice things about today is I understand you guys are going to give these folks a chance to see the first entire hour of the film.
Yep.
Correct?
That's right.
Not everybody. Unfortunately, there's only, I think, 260-some seats in the theater, which is at the AMC in downtown Disney. But if you follow the information that is on the screen behind you, we will be giving out these lanyards to a lucky bunch of people who will get to see the first hour of the movie. And
This evening.
yeah, you'll get to see the full 8-minute version of what you just saw, plus the rest of the film, all in context. And
Plus 52 minutes of
I shouldn't say the rest of the film. There's a whole third act that you won't see, but at least you get quite a bit.
Yeah, I had a chance. The guys were very kind. They let me see this hour of footage, and it stops just when you don't want it to. It's kind of heartbreaking, but it makes you so desperate to see the rest of the film, which is terrific. Do me a favor, boys and girls. Please help me thank these two kind gentlemen for coming out and talking about